Bitch, you know, for sure. You're not listening to the Mind of Terry's Moon, Flight Boss the Archangel Uriel, and I'm here to carry out God duties and motherfucker responsibilities. And with this quick little video right here, I want to speak about you got things that move and shit that don't move. I repeat, you got shit that moves and shit that don't move. Now, before we get into this video, I want people to, what I'm actually trying to do is clear your perspective, clear your understanding on things, because this is very essential to us in our spiritual growth. So for the most part, people need to understand what being lost in the physical actually means. You see what I'm saying? Now, this what being lost in the physical or being lost in general actually means. Anytime you add an emotional attachment or an extra meaning or reasoning to an external shape and form or light that's outside of you. I repeat, that's being lost or being lost in the physical. Anytime you got an emotional attachment or you add an extra meaning or reasoning to a shape and form or a light outside of you. So a shape and form, that could be a sign, sigil, concept, an idea, whatever you was taught. The moment that you cling on to that concept and then you live your life based around that concept, that's being lost in the physical in some way, shape, or form. Some people lost on a high vibrational level, some people lost on a low vibrational level, but in some way, shape, and form, that's being lost in the physical. That's being lost. So, you know what I'm saying? Now that we got that out the way, let's get this clear. Everything that moves, right, has a soul. And what is a soul? An individual spirit. So everything you see moving has an individual spirit, which is a soul. So the vessels, the shape and forms that you see that have movement, as you see people, animals, and bugs and things of that nature, this shape and form has to be created with the technology of vessels to be inhabited by a spirit in order to have movement through it. So now that you have that level of understanding, this could kind of give you a clear understanding throughout this video that just because something grows doesn't necessarily means it has a soul. You see what I'm saying? This is what you have to understand, that we give things life. You understand? We give things life. So just because we see something growing doesn't necessarily means it has a soul. You need to detach that. We create many different shapes and forms. So let me break this down on a most mundane level, right? Me and you can create a business, right? So the more energy, the more life we give that business will grow. But no means, I didn't say by no means necessary that the business itself is a spirit, is a fucking life. The business itself is just a shape and form, a robot. It could be a concept, it could be a building, it could be something that we're doing. But for the most part, that what we created itself is growing, but that doesn't necessarily mean it has a soul. It just has other spirits, other souls and bodies giving it life, giving it a source for it to grow. For an example, you got scientists in labs every day creating things that grow. You got test tube babies and all kind of shits. Now, depending on the shape and form, this shape or robot can be inhabited by a spirit to move and things of that nature and develop a level of consciousness after evolutions and evolutions of that shape and form. But the shape and form itself isn't a soul. Souls give it life. So, now that you understand that, right? Now look around you. Look in this realm of reality of everything around you, right? You got shit that moves and shit that don't move. Now for my conscious people, I think y'all know where I'm going with this, because let's take it from a mundane level and let's take it to a higher level. Now, think about all the things that don't move. You move, right? But we created cell phones and we created computers and houses and things of that nature. That don't move. But for the most part, we give it life. So when you see a house that was created with nobody living in it, it's an abandoned house. It's a house with no life in it, right? But when you see a house with curtains and things of that nature, cars in the driveway and shit like that, we gave that house life. That group of people, spirits, gave that house life. Now, we're going to bring this on a higher level, right? So this is what you need to understand. When you look at things that don't move, what did we create the things that don't move for? On the most simplest level. For sustaining ourselves. Right? You don't want to be out in the rain and the storm all day, every day. So we created a house in order to sustain ourselves from that, right? So when it's cold, we create things like covers and clothings and coats to sustain ourselves. So this letting you know all the things that you see in our realm of reality that don't move, chairs, when you tired of standing up, we created chairs to what? Sit down. That's a form of sustaining yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, so if you're a person who can't walk, you go to the hospital, what? They give you a wheelchair or crutches. For what? To sustain yourself. So why do you eat? Why do you sleep? Or why do you rest? Or why do you eat? To sustain yourself, right? Because you don't want to go hungry because you think you're going to die. So this letting you know that a lot of things that we see in this realm of reality that don't move was created because people are scared to die, or their perception of death. And they're creating these things that don't move to sustain themselves. So that's on our level of life. Things we're creating on our level of life. So when you look at everything, now like I said, don't conflate things with a soul with things that grow. Everything that grow isn't necessarily has a soul. So for the most part, just because it's something that you may not have created, and it's something that you didn't take the responsibility for, and it's something that then created outside of your way of thinking of creating, doesn't necessarily means that's a life form that's broader than you. So when you start to look at bushes and fruit trees and shit like that in general, and grass, this is what you need to understand. Now look, the only thing you see moving, I'm not talking about growth or growing, right? Which things that move grow also, because that's growth is a technology that don't have anything to do with the spirit, because your spirit, your soul never dies. So which means is on your spiritual growth or your spiritual path, we might call it growth, but your spirit never growing or never getting smaller. Your spirit just is like God. God just is. You see what I'm saying? So when we talk about growth, we know this is a level of consciousness. This is a level of technology that we have created. This is a perception we have created. This is a perception that have been created as an offspring of time and vibration that we created. You see what I'm saying? So now that's why I be telling people, do not add an emotional attachment and try to take on responsibilities that's greater than you, because you're going to start suffering from the things that manifest from those entities. Now, for the most part, look, check this out. All things that don't move is things that was created to sustain ourselves, right? So for an example, when you look at all things that move, the only thing you see moving in this realm of reality is you, bug life, animal life, and star life. I repeat, the only thing you see moving is you, animal life, bug life, and planet life, stars. Now, if you want to get to scientific terms and say atoms and particles and things of that nature, let's scrap all that out the book. I like to say everything is just stars then. You got to the biggest stars to the smallest stars. The smallest stars will be like an atom, particle, mineral. That's what y'all be eating, y'all eating cereal and shit. Y'all eating dead minerals and things. Those are bodies, beings with spirits that was in them, right? And the largest bodies will be the largest stars, black holes or whatever y'all want, nuclear stars, whatever the fuck y'all want to come up with scientific names. Then you got all the stars in the middle. You, animals, bugs, clouds. You know what I'm saying? Motherfucking all the shit you see moving, right? Water, elements, you know what I'm saying? And all different kind of life frames and life forms. All kind of different, all the shit you see moving. You see what I'm saying? Those are the only things you see moving. Now, what do you see that don't move? Trees, grass. You see what I'm saying? Now, I'm talking about on a higher technology level. Not on our level where what we see move, because to an ant, that might appear differently. But to us, we might create it car tires. We might create shit that wear and tear and shit like that. So to us, that don't move, but it's a level of sustainment. Now, to a level of life higher than us, this is where you have to take into consideration of concepts of fruits and life that grows. Because look, remind you, I just told you Things that don't move was created in a form of us to sustain ourselves. You see what I'm saying? That's why we create refrigerators, to sustain our food. This is why we create chairs, to sustain our sit down. So now look at this on a higher level of life. Trees don't move. Grass, fruit, shit like that don't move. So that's letting you know that these are things that was created for a level of sustainment. So since you are a person who are afraid to die, and you don't understand how these things was created, right? And since you use these things to sustain yourself, you add emotional attachment to these fruits, to these seeds, to these beans, to these trees, to these grass, to these lettuce, to this nature. You add emotional attachment to it, and you add extra meanings and reasons to it that you truly really don't know as a spirit, right? And then you cling on to these things when these things was actually created from the realm of sustainment. And I just broke down what things that don't move do for you, because you created that for you to sustain yourself. So a level of life outside of you is letting you know that all things that you see in nature that don't move is a form of technology. So the moment you lose yourself into adding emotional attachment to these things, you are lost. And you are lost on the highest level. Because being lost in nature is the highest level of lostness. The Garden of Eden and all that shit. Everything in nature ain't natural. For the most part. You as a spirit in a body. Now this body is an illusion. Your hair, you grow your hair. Your hair ain't moving. It grows. But you the one with the soul. So you created that technology of hair to sustain your travel. So everywhere, every placement on your body, you got hair. You created that level of technology as a spirit to sustain that area for some strange reason for whatever it's doing. The same way you created skin, the same way you created tissue for yourself, the same way you created teeth, the same way you created all your vessels and shit as a spirit. You created those things as shapes and forms and lights to take on as a spirit to sustain your dream and imagination in order to make an excuse and justify your demon nature. Where if you lighten up, you will truly understand what the fuck I'm talking about right now. You will. So what I'm saying right now, I'm not hating on fruits. I'm not hating on trees. I'm not hating on bushes. What I'm here to tell you, what I'm just letting you know as Archangel Uriel is just know what you're doing. And stop adding extra emotional attachments and meanings and reasons to these things. Because only thing you doing is creating concepts within your minds, which ain't nothing but light and information and shapes and forms that's less dense. So when you die in this form, your spirit is going to go into that light. And that light involves all the information that you put in it. And all the information you put in it is shit from this realm. All the emotions, attachments you attach to thinking you need fruit. To thinking you need the tree, to thinking the tree does this, to thinking the bushes does that, to thinking the grass does this, to thinking the grass does that. You truly don't know what the fuck that shit is doing. You just coming up with meanings and reasonings behind your justification of you being scared to die and you wanting to sustain yourself in some type of way. I don't give a fuck if your ass scared of not breathing. So your ass think you need these things to breathe. That's a level of sustaining yourself in this realm of reality, where there's trillions and billions of different realms of realities. Just as many different billions and trillions of stars you think you see. And if you don't believe in the stars because you a flat earther, then let's say you believe in blood cells or brain cells and things of that nature. This is just as many as it's different, many thousands and billions of neurons and blood cells and brain cells. That's just as many different thoughts and ideas it is, aka many different realms of realities and many different worlds. So for you to cling on to this one just because you think this one's sustaining you in some type of way and you don't see life in no other kind of way because you're still spiritually a child, you're still spiritually young, you're still a spiritual baby, yes, I'm gonna say it, you're still a spiritual child, then you just going to have to live here more thousands and thousands of years. It take thousands and thousands of different shapes and forms that correlate to this realm of reality until you understand the level of consciousness that Archangel Uriel is presenting to you in today's time right now. This is what I'm here for. You see what I'm saying? This is what I'm here for. So before you come after me and hate on me saying that I got a negative annotation about nature, you need to reevaluate if you're lost or not, or if you're lost in the physical or not. And you don't have a clear perception on what's technology and what's not. So I repeat, in this realm of reality, you got shit that move and shit that don't move. And that don't have anything to do with things that's growing and growth. Because if you clearly listen to this video, I broke that down for you. You can separate, because you got some people who are trying to kick the science that if it grows, it's life. That doesn't necessarily, just because something growing don't mean it's life. We give things life to grow. And I just broke that down to you on the simplest level. Me and you could start a business and it can grow. I can start a seed in my mind and it can grow. And a lot of times it grow into a child. Now, a lot of people have dead conscious childs that as soon as they get born is dead. It didn't live. So that child didn't take a spirit. So it's not life, but that form is still a shape and form and a light. You get what I'm saying? So stop getting emotionally attached to anything that's external outside of you, because if it don't move, I don't give a fuck if it's growing. If it don't move like you or animal or star or particle, whatever you want to call it, then it's not life. It's something that we're given life for it to grow. And the only reason we're paying attention to it, to give it life, for it to grow, and it don't move, is because it's a form of sustainment. And it's a form of trying to sustain yourself. And the only reason a spirit is trying to sustain itself is because it's trying to absorb itself in its creation or its dream or its imagination a lot longer than it can if it was just a spirit. See, a spirit without a body can't enjoy his imagination or dream, because it's no realm of reality it's no light, it's no shape and form created to imagine it. So the spirit can't experience without a shape and form. So this is why we create our suns. We create conscious. We create intellects. We create spaceships. We create shapes and forms. We create layers and layers. And the more layering of it, so think about it right now, you being a human. Think about how many layers you got from the middle of your brain all the way to your layers now. That's how long you've been living. So you've been living for thousands and thousands of years. So you think you just got developed when your parents had sex. No, when you was in your father, that might have been like 50,000 years. And you might have took 50 different type of blood cells and organisms, all the way to you understood the whole totality of your father, aka you understood the whole totality of that universe. So you became like Lucifer in this version of the universe you in right now. So you became every shape and form and understood every conscious level on all levels of your father. So boom, that once you died from that last level of cell, sperm cell, you died from that universe, and you got sucked out through a black hole and went into another universe. Now you had to do it again through your mother. You had to do it all over again until you reached the egg cell again, her moon. You see what I'm saying? And then once you do that might have been another thousands and thousands of something years. So then boom, now you get birthed out. Now you in this realm. Now you a bigger blood cell, but you in another mother doing it again. And what you need to understand is you need to learn every level of consciousness and understanding outside of you again. And the more information you pack onto your spirit will be able to take on a bigger body, aka the body you will be in will look like how you look now, just a extra layer. So you will be a being that won't look like a human. It'll look like something else with some extra shit. But as a spirit, you just created more shit with more layers. You see what I'm saying? So I don't understand why people be even trying to tie to the spirit, trying to explain the spirit, because you got people who will say the water is the spirit. Or you got people who will say the trees is the spirit. Or you got people who will say the Holy Ghost is the spirit. Okay, that's all fine and dandy. Okay, you explaining what water is. You just explained what the tree is. You just explained what the Holy Ghost is. But you still ain't explain what the spirit is. You get it. Do you get it? That's why people get confused with themselves when they always try to attach a shape and form to explaining what the spirit is. You see what I'm saying? Because whatever you call in the spirit, you're just explaining what that is. So like I said, like right now, if I say the air is the spirit, like how the ancients used to say, okay, yeah, I just described what air is. Air do shit like a spirit. Okay, what's a spirit? You see what I'm saying? And your spirit is your shapeless, formless, odorless, non-flammable, smokeless flame. So it's in a realm of reality. It's nowhere. It's nowhere. It has to create a shape and form, which is the conscious. That's one of the first bodies it create for itself. That'll play out like a light. And then once it possess that first body, your conscious body, what do that body do? That body means awareness. That's a body of awareness. That's a shape and form. So that's like your most less non-physical, dense body you created in the energy realm to take as a spirit. So once you take that, now you somewhere. You aware. You still nowhere, you aware. But with that first body, that first light, you can use mechanisms of the realm that you in from the higher spirit, because we're in the mind, and you can use those outer elements with your own elements with that first body you created, that conscious, and create other shapes and forms. So you start creating your old planetary solar system. You start creating your intellect, which will be your Mercury, what they call it from an external point of view. You'll start creating your wisdom body, which will be the Jupiter, what they want to call it. You'll start to create your soul body, which is your shapeless, formless, but in order to inhabit the vessels, you'll be able to create that, which they call that the moon. Outside of this, you'll be able to create your aggression body, your movement, intentional body, which would they call the outside Mars. But really, is this your chakra levels or your seven heavens or your solar system? It's really all the same shit. You just got more people who add more lost and indoctrinated ways of explaining the same energies. That's it. That's it. See what I'm saying? Flight bus, bitch. Goddamn air. Shit that move and shit that don't move. And we the only thing moving. God damn it.